Hi, this is Beline and Nikolaevsk, and here we are doing distance learning again. First thing that you should know is that as a teacher, I want my students at school. I love having them here, and it's really difficult to keep going with our work when they're not in the building. So parents, just know that we miss them and we wish that they were here. Secondly, as a mom who has homeschooled for many years before, I know how challenging it is to encourage your kids to learn from home. And right now, as the mother of two young kids, I'm doing both at the same time. I'm teaching distance and I'm trying to support my kids' learning without them dropping the ball. So it's a struggle, and we know this. And all I can say is that you just have to take some deep breaths and do the best you can. But I have some solid tips here that I wanted to share out to parents that are working and trying to get their kids to learn from home. The first one is that you should create a physical space for your kids' learning. A lot of times when they're going to school and coming home and maybe working on homework, a laptop on their lap in their room is sufficient. But without a space at home dedicated to their working and learning, it's going to be more difficult for your kids to get their stuff done. And I don't mean that you should set up a home office for your kid and expect them to spend 6 hours a day in there. That's not at all what I'm thinking about. Having a crate with their laptop and their books and their supplies sitting next to the dining room table would be a fine spot, so that they have a place to go and relax, like their bedroom or their play area, and then they have a place to sit and do their work, be on their Zoom calls, and get their stuff done. So it's a way of organizing their brain as well as organizing their space. But they do need to have a dedicated physical space for learning, and it should be organized and clean and tidy and as free from distractions as you can make it. Create a routine that works for your family. So what time of day do you anticipate that your kids are going to do work? One of the benefits of being at distance is that adolescents who really need more sleep and have a tendency to stay up later and sleep in later, they have the opportunity to do that with this new, with the distance learning. They can sleep in until 9 or 10 o'clock and still be productive throughout the day. And that's okay. You don't have to get your kids up at 6 o'clock in the morning and have them, sitting at their table by 8 a.m. This is an opportunity to take advantage of the flexibility there. So what's working for your family? And I know that a lot of families work and they look at the opportunity of having their kids work with them as a benefit to distance learning as well. So think about, what's going to benefit your kids in the long run. Are they going to be spending the day working with you at your job, or doing chores around the house, and then maybe their school time is going to be in the evening. As far as how long of time, at school we spend a lot of time working on social emotional learning, building rapport, building relationships. We do routine breaks. We spend time doing PE. They have recess. So kids are not sitting at one spot for 6 hours a day. That is unsustainable, and it's really not beneficial to your child at all, even all the way up through high school. For older kids, 3 or 4 hours of solid work a day is reasonable. And, if they're not accustomed to it, maybe they need to be building up to that. Maybe not in a chunk. They need to take breaks in there, but don't overreach with your kid. If you find that, the Zoom schedule or the work schedule, the workload is not meeting the needs of your family, please express your needs to your child's teachers. We're here for you. We want to help you. We want to support your kids in learning. We don't want to create more hardships than this already is. Encourage consistency to build good habits. So, when you build a routine, as the previous slide was talking about, try to stick with it as much as possible. Consistency really helps with kids just being able to work better. If you plan on kids are Zooming with their teachers at the same time every day, then the kids will pretty soon, it'll just become part of what they do, and they won't have to think about it as hard, and it won't be as difficult. Also, think about building one little habit at a day. at a time. So if you're working on, waking up at a reasonable hour, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, without that outside pressure of school, start with that. And then if your next step is, okay, I want to see you working on your schoolwork by 10, that's the next step. So consider, building those habits up incrementally. Celebrate your accomplishments. If you see that your kids are doing something and it's what you want them to be doing, be sure to celebrate that and tell them, that you appreciate their efforts, and make sure that they know that you are watching them and that you are proud of them. Bedtimes are okay for older kids. I'm not saying that a high schooler needs to go to bed at 8, but it is okay for you to turn off the internet and say, you know what, 10 o'clock, it is time for you to go to bed. And that might be the habit that you want to think about building right away. And screen time also, it's okay to tell your kids, that's enough, you've had enough TV today, go for a book. It would be helpful to them. Until they can build that discipline on their own, it would be helpful for them to have you help them build up those good habits. Create transparency and accountability. Communicate with your child's teachers. Sometimes what our kids tell us isn't exactly what the message that your teachers are trying to send. So make sure that you're checking in with your child's teachers on a regular basis. Make sure that you are getting online and checking PowerSchool and checking Google, the Google Classroom, and talk to your kids about what they've turned in and what they haven't turned in. It's really important to make sure that your teacher, you and your kids' teachers are on the same page. Sometimes, things get lost in translation, and we want to make sure that our kids know that they are being held accountable, and that their parents and their teachers are on the same team. And be mindful of, your whole child. So it's not just about schoolwork. At school, we work really hard, especially here at Nikolaisk, to build in that whole child experience. So we are concerned with your kids' physical health. We want to make sure that they're exercising. We want to make sure that they're building good socialization habits. We want to make sure they're exploring hobbies, because hobbies are really important as an adult to lower stress and be a healthy individual. We want to make sure that younger kids especially have time to play, but also older students, video games and basketball and fun things that kids can do in a safe way during this pandemic are really important for a child's mental and physical health. Also, family time. Don't let schoolwork cut into the time you spend building relationships with your kids, because those relationships are really going to pay off down the road. And also make sure your kid has downtime. As an individual, especially with older students, they need time to just be who they are and not necessarily have a lot of pressure sitting on them. So we keep those things in mind. If you find that your kids are glued to their devices for extended periods of time, and the other parts of their life are suffering, feel free to step in as a parent to take control of that and encourage them to do something different with their lives. Practice grace. So no one asked for this. We're all in this together, and we all want what is best for our kids. This situation is temporary. Every day is a new day. We can learn from our failures, and we can celebrate our successes. I am on social media, and I see the chatter going back and forth, and there's a lot of negativity and a lot of finger pointing and a lot of blame. And I think it comes from a place of stress and inflexibility and fear. And this situation is hard, and no one asked to be in this situation. I did not ask for this. Your students didn't. You didn't. So we all just have to work together to give each other grace and practice grace for ourselves. I think we're all going to be okay. Students at Nikolaisk are prepared to go distance. We have been working on this since the beginning of the year. They know how to complete their work, and we just need to give them a little extra support and a little extra love in order to see this be a successful school year. So thanks, and please reach out if you have any questions or you need any resources, and I hope everything is going delightfully at home. And know that I miss your students a lot, and I hope that you're enjoying having them, maybe. Anyway, give us a call if you need anything.